I checked the door twice every night. Not once, twice. I turn the lock. I jiggle the handle. I press my palm against the wood just to feel it. Solid, closed, safe. It's become a ritual. I tell myself it's just a habit, because the first time it happened, I didn't check. I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't move. At first, I thought I was still dreaming. My room looked normal. Moonlight spilling across the dresser. The faint glow of my phone charger. But my body wouldn't respond. I tried to lift my hand. Nothing. Tried to turn my head. Nothing. That's when I saw the door. It was opening. Slowly. No sound. Just the faint shift of darkness as the line between the door and the frame widened. I remember thinking, that's impossible. I always lock it. But there it was, inch by inch, revealing the hallway beyond. Except the hallway didn't look right. It was darker than it should have been. Not just unlit, wrong. Thick, like the darkness itself had weight. The door stopped after opening maybe a few inches, and nothing came through. I couldn't breathe properly. My chest felt pinned down. My heart was racing so hard I thought it might wake me up for real. Then, as suddenly as it started, it ended. I jolted upright, gasping. The door was closed. Locked. I told myself it was sleep paralysis. I'd read about it before. Your brain wakes up before your body does. You hallucinate. Feels real. Feels real. The next night, I checked the door twice. Locked. Always locked. I fell asleep telling myself it wouldn't happen again. It did. This time, I knew what was coming the moment I opened my eyes and couldn't move. The air felt heavier. My ears rang with that strange, underwater silence. And the door, it was already opening, wider than before. The crack stretched longer, revealing more of that unnatural darkness in the hallway. No shadows moving, just that black space. Waiting. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. The door stopped about a foot open, and I had the overwhelming feeling that something was standing just beyond the frame. Not stepping in, just there, watching. When I woke up for real, I ran to the door. Still locked. Still exactly the way I'd left it. That was the night I started checking it twice. Every single night. It didn't stop. That's the worst part. If it had only happened once or twice, I could have blamed stress, nightmares, an overactive imagination. But it became a pattern. Every night I'd wake up trapped inside my own body, eyes fixed on the door, and every night it opened a little more. The third time it was halfway open. The hallway looked impossibly long, like it had stretched. The darkness wasn't just heavy anymore, it felt layered, thick in some places, hollow in others. I started noticing details. The temperature in my room would drop the moment the paralysis hit. Not dramatically, just enough that the air felt colder against my skin. And the silence, it wasn't normal quiet. It was the kind of silence that makes your ears strain, like the world itself is holding its breath. One night I saw it. A hand, pale fingers curling around the edge of the door. They were too long, too still, wrapped around the wood like they'd been there for a while. Couldn't see an arm, just the hand, gripping, waiting. I tried to close my eyes, but I couldn't. They stayed locked forward. The hand slowly tightened, and then the door moved another inch. I woke up gasping so hard my throat hurt. The door was closed, locked. I started filming myself sleep after that. I set my phone up on the dresser facing the door. If it was opening, I'd have proof. The next morning, I watched the footage with shaking hands. Nothing. I was just lying there, completely still. The door never moved. But at 3:17 a.m., I saw something that made my stomach drop. My body went rigid. My eyes opened. And even though the door on camera never moved, I watched myself staring at it, like I was seeing something that wasn't there. The next night, it got worse. The door opened almost fully, and behind it, I saw part of a face. Not fully, just the side of it. Pale skin, a cheekbone, strands of dark hair hanging down like wet threads. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe. It didn't step inside. It just stayed there. Every night after that, it got closer to the frame, more visible, but it never crossed the threshold. And somehow, that felt intentional, like it was waiting for permission, or for me to do something first. I stopped sleeping properly. I started dreading the dark. I even considered taking the door off its hinges. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter, because whatever was opening that door wasn't coming from the hallway. The last night it happened, the door was already open, fully open. I woke up into paralysis like always. Chest heavy, fingers numb, eyes locked forward. But this time there was no slow creak. The doorway was empty of wood, and she was standing there, tall, too tall for my frame. Her hair hung forward, covering most of her face. Long, dark strands that looked damp, clinging together in thin ropes. I couldn't see her eyes, but I knew she was looking at me. She didn't sway. She didn't breathe. She just stood there, watching. The hallway behind her was completely black. Not shadowed, not dim, black, like it didn't exist. The air in my room felt wrong, thick, pressurized. My ears rang. My vision trembled at the edges. I tried to move, to scream, to blink. Nothing. Then slowly, impossibly slowly, her head tilted. Just slightly, like she was confused or curious. And that's when I understood something that made my blood run cold. She had never been trying to get in. She had been checking if I would let her. The nights the door opened wider, it wasn't her pushing. It was me, my mind, my fear, my fixation. I had been the one unlocking it. Her foot shifted forward, just barely, crossing the threshold by a fraction. The moment her toes touched my bedroom floor, I woke up. Morning light flooded the room. Birds outside. Normal sounds. Normal air. I shot upright and looked at the door. Closed. Locked. Exactly like always. For a full minute, I just sat there, shaking. Then something caught my eye. At the bottom of the door, on the inside, long streaks carved into the wood. 4 of them, deep, splintered, like fingernails had dragged downward again and again. Not trying to get in, trying to get out. I don't check the door twice anymore. I don't need to, because every night now, I leave it unlocked, and it hasn't opened since. Every night it starts the same way. I wake up, but I can't move. There's a crushing weight on my chest, like someone dropped a sandbag on me while I was asleep. My arms are pinned. My lungs burn because I can't pull in a full breath. My eyes are open, but the rest of my body refuses to respond. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, you know exactly what I'm talking about. At first, I wasn't scared. I'd read about it before. The pressure on the chest, the hallucinations, the feeling of suffocating. It's common, apparently. Your brain wakes up before your body does. That's all. Pressure, difficulty breathing, nothing unusual. The first few times it happened, I just waited it out. I focused on wiggling my toes. Eventually, control would come back in a rush, like surfacing from underwater. But then it started happening more often. Twice a week, then every other night. And that's when things began to change. The weight didn't just feel heavy anymore. It felt placed, deliberate. One night, instead of just pressure on my chest, I felt something else. 2 distinct points pressing into the mattress beside my ribs. Knees, not wide, not heavy, sharp, like someone kneeling over me. I told myself it was my mind filling in gaps. Sleep paralysis can do that, can create full figures in the room. My brain was just misfiring. But the next episode was worse. The weight shifted, slowly, not disappearing, adjusting, like whoever, whatever, was sitting on me needed to get comfortable. I remember trying to scream. Nothing came out. just that shallow, useless air scraping in and out of my throat. Then I felt it, something brushing across my face. At first I thought it was my hair, but my hair was tied back. This was different. It dragged across my cheek, thin strands, tickling my nose, slipping over my lips. Long hair, hanging down. My heart was pounding so violently I thought it might break the paralysis on its own. And then, breath, cold breath against my neck. Slow, measured, right by my ear. That was the first night I started to wonder if this wasn't just my brain playing tricks on me. Because hallucinations don't breathe in rhythm with you. They don't adjust their weight when you try to inhale. And they definitely don't feel this heavy. I stopped sleeping properly after that. I was terrified of drifting off. But exhaustion always wins eventually. And every time I gave in, it was there, waiting. The worst part? It was always facing me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel the way it leaned forward, like it was watching me wake up. And one night, I managed to move my eyes, just a little, downward, just enough to see what was sitting on my chest. I wish I hadn't looked. For weeks, I'd kept my eyes fixed on the ceiling during the paralysis. I told myself if I didn't see anything, it couldn't be real. It would just stay a feeling, a symptom. But that night, something in me needed to know. My eyes strained downward. At first, I only saw my own chest rising in shallow, panicked movements. Then I saw it. Knees. They were pressed into the mattress on either side of my ribs. Too narrow, too sharp. The legs connected to them were wrong. Not bent naturally, more like folded inward like a spider's. And then I saw the torso. It was sitting directly on top of me, too thin. Its arms were long and braced beside my shoulders, fingers digging slightly into the mattress as if it was holding itself up, but not enough to take its weight off me. And its head was tilted downward. Long, dark hair hung like a curtain, brushing my cheeks. I couldn't see its face fully, just glimpses of pale skin through strands that swayed with each of my trembling breaths. It was close, closer than anyone has ever been to me. Close enough that if I could move, our noses would have touched. I tried to scream. Nothing. My lungs fluttered uselessly. The thing shifted again, adjusting its balance. I felt its weight redistribute, heavier on my left side now. The mattress dipped accordingly. This wasn't some shadow in the corner of the room. It had mass. The cold breath returned, slower this time. It inhaled when I inhaled, exhaled when I exhaled, like it was syncing with me, studying me. That episode lasted longer than any of the others. Or maybe it just felt that way. When I finally snapped out of it, I bolted upright so violently I nearly fell off the bed. I turned on every light in my apartment. Nothing. No dents in the mattress. No figure at the edge of the bed. Just silence. I didn't sleep at all after that. But the next night, exhaustion dragged me under again. And it came back. Same position. Same weight. Only this time, it was lower. Not fully on my chest. More toward my stomach. Like it was testing how far it could move. Its hair brushed across my lips again, and I felt something new. The faintest pressure at my throat. Not choking, just resting, like a reminder. You can't move. I started noticing something else too. Before each episode, right as I drifted off, I'd feel the mattress dip slightly beside me, as if someone had climbed into bed first, and was waiting for me to fall asleep. The fear changed after that. It wasn't panic anymore. It was anticipation, because every night I knew exactly what was going to happen. I just didn't know if it was going to get closer. And then one night, I did something different. Instead of fighting it, I spoke, or at least I tried to. My lips barely moved. My voice was little more than air scraping through a locked throat. But I forced the words out anyway. Please. The weight above me stilled. The hair stopped swaying. Even the breath paused. I swallowed against the pressure and tried again. Please go away. For the first time since this started, it moved on purpose, not shifting, not adjusting. It leaned closer, slowly, until I felt its forehead almost touch mine. And through the curtain of hair, inches from my face, it whispered back, "I live here." The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't raspy or monstrous. It was calm, soft, right against my lips, and it sounded close, not like it was coming from across the room, not even like it was coming from above me. It sounded like it was coming from inside my head. The weight on my body didn't increase. It didn't tighten its grip. It just stayed there, certain, like it had answered a stupid question. I wanted to ask what that meant. I wanted to beg, to scream, to promise anything if it would just leave. But I couldn't move. All I could do was stare through the strands of hair hanging inches from my eyes and feel that steady, synchronized breathing. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And then, just like every other time, my body snapped back. The weight vanished. The mattress rose. I shot upright, gasping so hard my vision sparkled. The room was empty. The air was still. I didn't sleep again that night. But here's the part that doesn't make sense. After that, it stopped. Completely. No more pressure. No more paralysis. No dipping mattress before I drifted off. For the first time in months, I could fall asleep without bracing myself. Weeks passed. Then a month. I almost convinced myself it had all been stress. Overactive imagination. A perfect storm of exhaustion and anxiety. The human brain can do horrible things to itself. That's what I told myself. Eventually, I stopped thinking about it altogether. Until 3 nights ago, I woke up naturally, sunlight coming through the blinds. No weight on my chest, just quiet, peaceful, and froze. On the pillow beside mine, the mattress was deeply pressed in. Not slightly, not the kind of dent you get from shifting in your sleep. This was the shape of a head, clear as if someone had been lying there for hours, facing me. The indentation ran down into the mattress too. A faint line along the sheets like the impression of a shoulder. The fabric was wrinkled inward toward my body, like whoever had been there had been turned toward me, watching. I stared at it for a long time, waiting for it to slowly rise back into place. Didn't. It stayed. Heavy. I live alone. There's no one else with a key. And the paralysis hasn't come back since. No breathing. No weight on my chest. Just that space beside me every morning that feels slightly used, like someone slept there. I think I misunderstood what it meant. When it said it lives here, I assumed it meant the room, the apartment, maybe even me. But now I think I was wrong. It doesn't live on my chest. It doesn't need to anymore. It lives in the bed. And I think it was only sitting on me until it was sure I wouldn't leave. I used to think it was just my brain misfiring. That's what everyone says about sleep paralysis, right? Your body is asleep. Your mind wakes up too early. You hallucinate. Mine always came with the same image. A shadow on the wall beside my bed. Tall, unmoving, human-shaped. The first time it happened, I couldn't breathe. Not because something was on my chest like people describe, but because I could see it so clearly. It was stretched along the wall opposite my window, darker than the darkness around it. Like the night itself had pooled into the shape of a person. I couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't even swallow. And it didn't move either. It just stood there. After a few seconds or maybe minutes, I'd jolt awake fully, heart racing, and it would be gone. Just normal shadows, normal room. I told myself it was the streetlight outside, or my dresser casting weird angles, or my brain trying to make sense of shapes in the dark. That explanation worked. For a while, the episodes came back every few weeks. Always the same setup. I'd wake up frozen, My room quiet, the air heavy, and there it would be, on the wall beside my bed, watching. I never saw eyes, or a face, just an outline, a silhouette too solid to be a trick of light. But here's the part that started bothering me. It wasn't always the same. At first, it looked roughly my height. Then one night, it seemed taller, its head almost brushing the ceiling line. Another time, its arms looked longer, hanging lower than they should have, almost reaching the floor. I told myself that was normal too. Hallucinations aren't consistent. The brain improvises. Except no matter how it looked, it never moved. Not once. It didn't shift, didn't sway, didn't breathe. It just stood there, like it was waiting for something. Eventually, I got used to it. That's the worst part. I'd wake up paralyzed, see it, panic internally, and then wait it out, like riding out a storm. As long as it didn't move, I was safe. That was the unspoken rule my mind created. It doesn't move, so it isn't real. I even stopped telling people about it. What was the point? I see a shadow when I can't move. Classic sleep paralysis. Textbook. But deep down, something kept scratching at me, because each time it came back, it looked closer to the bed. Just slightly, just enough that I couldn't be sure. And I started dreading the nights when I'd wake up and find it not on the far wall, but a little nearer, a little larger, a little less like a shadow, and a little more like a presence. The night it changed, I knew immediately. You ever wake up and feel like something is wrong before you even open your eyes? That was me. My body was frozen again, flat on my back, the familiar weight pressing down on my chest. I didn't even need to look. I knew it was there. Slowly, painfully, my eyes shifted to the wall, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't on the far wall anymore. It was right beside the bed. The shadow stretched from the floor to the ceiling, so close that I could see the edge of it bleeding into the corner near my nightstand. It wasn't cast onto the wall the way normal shadows are. It looked detached, like it was part of the surface. Its head tilted slightly this time. That was new. Not much. Just enough that the outline wasn't symmetrical anymore. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. I tried to move my fingers. Nothing. I stared at the place where its face would be. And for the first time, I had the overwhelming sensation that it was aware of me noticing the difference. That it understood I knew something had changed. The paralysis broke like it always does, sudden and violent. I gasped, rolled onto my side, and fumbled for my phone. Flashlight on. The wall was empty, just paint, just shadows from furniture. Nothing tall, nothing human-shaped. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. After that, the episodes started happening more often, twice a week, sometimes back-to-back nights. Each time, the shadow looked wrong in a new way. Longer arms, narrower torso. Once, I swear its shoulders brushed the ceiling, but it still never moved, until the last night. That night, I woke up like usual, frozen, heart pounding, and there it was, right beside the bed again, closer than ever. Its outline was no longer crisp. It looked thicker somehow, like layered ink. The air around it felt heavier, like the room had shrunk. I locked my eyes on it, waiting for the paralysis to end, waiting for the usual snap back to reality. Seconds dragged. Then something happened that had never happened before. I blinked, and I could move, just slightly. My fingers twitched against the sheets. The paralysis was fading, but the shadow didn't. It didn't disappear. It didn't distort. It stayed exactly where it was. That's when the real fear set in. Because if I was moving, and it was still there, then this wasn't sleep paralysis anymore. Slowly, I pushed myself upright in bed. My arms trembled. My breathing was loud in my ears. The room was dark, but I was fully awake. I could feel it, and the shadow was still on the wall beside me. Flat, black, too tall to belong to anything in my room. For the first time in all those nights, it moved. Not like a person, not like something stepping forward. Peeled. That's the only word I have for it. The top of its head lifted first, like something separating from a surface. Then its shoulders, then its torso. Slowly, silently, the entire shape pulled itself off the wall, like wet paper being lifted away. Only there was no tearing sound. No sound at all. It stood beside my bed, still flat, still black, but no longer attached to anything, and impossibly tall. His head nearly touched the ceiling. His arms hung too low, and I realized something else. It didn't have depth. It was like a cutout of darkness standing upright in the middle of my room, facing me. Couldn't breathe, couldn't look away, because now I understood something I hadn't before. It had never been a shadow cast by something.